Hi there folks, welcome back to the IB and Andy Fishing Channel. I hope you're doing really well. It's been a while since I've said that. Yeah, we are finally back with another video. I apologise that we've both been away for so long. It's just been one of those summers. We've had quite a lot of stuff going on. We're trying to buy a house, new jobs. I've been super busy with work. On top of that, the fishing conditions for most of the summer have been really bad here in the UK. I don't know about you guys, but I've found this one of the most tricky summers that I've ever had as far as the trout season goes in terms of the conditions. It's been so dry. So yeah, it's been a while. Thank you very much for sticking with us, those of you who were already subbed. It actually turns out that we've still been growing even though we haven't been posting any videos, which is pretty weird and pretty cool. So thank you very much to you guys who have subbed while we haven't been posting anything. I promise you now, we're into better water conditions. It's grayling time of year. There's going to be more stuff coming both with fly and lure. I promise you that. So hit that subs button if you haven't already hit it. Stop. Andy, stop talking right now. Stop talking. Good. So amongst all the nice messages we've had in the time we haven't been making videos, a lot of people have been asking about the results of the Grace Fin Euro Nymphing kit giveaway. We had 2 kits. We were giving away to someone and a friend, and they were going to win a day's fishing with IB and I using the new rods on the Haddon Estate on the Peacock Fly Fishing Club waters. Yes, that winner was announced. I made a really bad job of it, but Kyle Matheson guessed it absolutely perfectly. You got exactly the right number of flies in the giveaway. So Kyle, you have won for you and a friend not only a new Euro Nymphing combo each, but a day's fishing with IB and I somewhere up here in Derbyshire. Now you've got to get in touch with us either by social media or by my email, info@abangling.co.uk. but get in touch with us, Kyle, because you have won the giveaway, over 300 kids worth of kit and a day's fishing with IB and I. Andy, get back on with the video. On the subject of water conditions, that's sort of why I've come out today. This is the first time in so long we've had a proper flush through in our waters here in Derbyshire. And 3 or 4 days ago we had a huge amount of rain. It absolutely poured it down. It's brought up our local rivers. It's just made everything feel a little bit more fly fishing-y. At this time of year, kind of mid-late October, when you get extra water, you generally get extra colour in the water as well, because a lot of the fields at this time of year haven't got any crops on them. And as a result of that, a lot of the muddy water ends up in the river, and that is what's happened today. So we've got a little bit of a challenge here. We've got to try and find a way of finding grayling, particularly in muddy water river conditions. I've got 2 rods with me. I've got a 9'4" weight, which is set up for the indicator. I've got a 10'3" weight, which is set up to fish Euro style with our Euro Nymphing box kit with the bicolour mono indicator. I'll be honest with you, that might not get much use today because it is hella windy. I wasn't expecting this. There's a real stiff southerly breeze howling straight up the river. You can probably hear it now. Actually, that was just in time. Thank you. And that's going to make Euro Nymphing very difficult. So we're going to have to work our way around that. Fortunately, I've got the indicator rig, which for me works much better with an upstream breeze. I think particularly today we're going to get a lot of use out of the flies in our coloured water grayling pack. The web shop has continued to tick over again even though we're not posting videos, so thank you very much for that. Anyway, I've been waffling for ages here. I just want to say thank you to everyone for sticking with the channel. As I say, it's been a while since we made a video, but I promise you I'm going to get back into it. IB and I are going to spend more time on the water and you guys are going to see it all happen. Let's go make it happen over there. So I've sort of made a beeline for a particular spot. And I'll just very quickly explain why we're here. First off, good grayling spot anyway. It's all flat gravel across here. It's pretty uniform depth, pretty uniform speed. But I know that when it's got a bit more water on it, there's a bit of a seam on the inside that the fish will often come across to. Now, we've got to understand with grayling that they need to be able to see the food coming to eat it. And in coloured water, the faster that food's coming, the less time they've got to see it. Whereas if they want to feed, they can move just into the edges a little bit more, where that food is moving a bit more slowly. It makes it a bit easier for them to feed. So that's sort of the rationale behind this. We're going to fish the inside of this first before we go anywhere near that main feed line. You've probably already noticed I have 2 flies on, one of which is the red worm from the coloured water pack. This is classic worming conditions. So we've got that on the top dropper, and then we've got the spangle shrimp on the point. Now something there that might stand out straight away, I've actually got the heavier fly on the top dropper rather than on the point. The reason for that is actually in windy conditions you can use the weight of that heavier fly to hold the indicator a bit more steady. It's a little tip that a buddy Dan shared with me a while ago. It doesn't, it doesn't solve everything, but it might just help me get slightly better drifts with this Euro rig. If it doesn't work out, then we'll switch to the indicator rig. But for the moment, I'm going to give this a fair shake with 2 very bright, very colourful flies. Just see if there's anything looking to feed right in front of me here. So I'm starting literally a couple of feet from the bank. There we go. Starting there. I don't think this is a grayling from the way it's charging around. Second drift right in at the edge there. Yeah, it's a brownie. I had a feeling from the way he took off there that wasn't going to be a Grayling. Well, sort of justified the cast, justified the position, just the wrong species. I think the fly fell out in the net. Yeah, it did. It was on the redworm. Little trout, straight back, out of season. Right, let's find the proper species. Okay, well, it's a bite. It's not the bite we were hoping for, but it is a bite, I guess. I'm still confident there's going to be Grayling down this inside. Oh, there's another fish. What have we got this time? That's tumbling. That might be a Grayling. Yeah, it is. There we go. Literally next cast. Oh, he's off. Okay, well, still, it means we've got a chance of a fish down here just in front of me. Well, 2 eats in the first 2 minutes. I think goes down as a decent start. But it does just show you don't always get drawn across to those very obvious bubble lines. It'd be so easy just to walk in here and go, oh, I know where the fish are going to be because I can see the feed line. But actually, in muddy water conditions or in high water, oh yeah, that was a take. In muddy water conditions or in high water conditions, they're not always over there. There's clearly a lot of fish here right on the feet. Come on, buddy. Taking the redworm again. In he goes. There we go. literally 2 minutes. We've had a trout and 2 Grayling on right on the inside. And in the process of trying to get a nice bit of footage of it, it's jumped out the net. It did happen, I promise. Right, good stuff. I think we'll just keep doing this for the moment. I don't see any great need to change too much. It's clearly working. There are fish in front of us, no doubt about it. Trout's just come flying out the river upstream of me. There are still a few bugs hatching. We've still, oh, that might have been a take. We've still got some pretty big caddis, some cinnamons. There's been the occasional, wind. There's been the occasional hatch of large dark olives. That wind is going to make this difficult, and if it continues to be like this, then I'm going to have to consider switching rigs to the indicator, because it's blowing that bicolour mono around all over the place and making it almost impossible for me to read this indicator. I was hoping, I've got some trees and stuff behind me here, I was hoping this was going to be a bit sheltered, but it's really not, and actually at the moment it's making fishing this very, very difficult. Okay, so I've made that change, typically just as the wind has calmed down a bit, but it's okay, we'll deal with it. I've picked up the indicator rod. I'm using a kind of slide-in adjustable indicator, and I'm using the same 2 flies actually. I'm using the redworm again, and I'm using the spangle shrimp on the point. Now again, unusual that a lot of people would prefer to fish the heavier fly on the point rather than the dropper. The reason well, I've got a few reasons why I'm doing that, but first off, with it being heavy, it's more likely that if that redworm touches the bottom, it's going to pull the indicator under as a false indication. Whereas the glister shrimp, with it being light, is less likely to pull the indicator under. So you get fewer false indications. With a floating indicator system, with a kind of suspension rig, any time you touch the bottom, you've got a strike, because you're assuming it's a fish. If that thing goes under, you're assuming it's a fish. You don't want to be constantly striking at false indications. So by having the heavier fly on the top dropper, you just reduce the number of false indications you get. You reduce the number of times you strike at nothing. You kind of cut down on the amount of noise you're making with it, because striking with a suspension nymphing rig can be quite loud. It's quite noisy. There's often a lot of rip with the indicator, with that leader and fly line. It just makes a lot of noise. So by doing this, we're cutting down on the amount of false takes, cutting down the amount of strikes, and just generally making things a little bit neater, a little bit tidier. The other thing is it's generally a safe assumption that your heavier fly is always going to be a bigger fly, almost always going to be the bigger fly. They're more likely to come up in the water column to intercept that. So it sort of makes sense actually to have the bigger, chunkier fly a little bit above the fish. I'm not going to try and fish this mega long. The temptation with it being fly line is to try and fish it way further than I need to. I'm going to fish this at very similar distances to what I was fishing the Euro rig with. Shorter distance, more control, all of that good stuff. All sort of makes sense. Gotcha, there we go, that didn't take long. What's that on? That's on the point fly. What have we got? Little grey dog on the point, there we go. That was a good change. These guys have got so much energy at the moment. There we go, we'll get this bite very quickly. That was good. Just a little change there. Actually, just the cast before, I just made the rig about 6 inches deeper as I started to work slightly further across the river. That slightly longer line hasn't produced takes in the way that I thought it would. I am going to creep over there a little bit further in a minute just to see what's going on, and this is where the adjustable indicator is a real advantage, in that you can kind of cover different parts of the water column without having to do too much rigging. But this has already made me think that I was onto the right track immediately by going shorter, by fishing the insides, because actually as we've gone across, fewer and fewer takes rather than more and more. Getting good quality drifts there. The other thing that's always worth considering is that every feed line has two seams. The one on the inside where I've been fishing, basically where I'm stood now, is the one that I'm always going to automatically fish first because it's closer to me. But there is one on the other side of the feed line as well. There's a fish. There is one on the other side of the feed line as well, so you need to be careful not to forget that further area. I think this is a trout again. It's difficult to tell in this muddy water because everything looks brown. No, it was a grayling. It was a grayling. Let's keep doing that. Let's take another step across and we'll see if we can just get one to go through a bit more slowly on the other side of the feed line there. Let's keep the rod a bit higher this time. Lots of small mends just to make sure that rig isn't dragging. Ooh, maybe. Got to strike those. Yeah, rod a bit higher than normal. I'm just throwing in lots of smaller mends here just to make sure that we get a reasonable quality drift. Might need to shallow up a little bit actually. It does shelve up towards that far side, so maybe I'm just fishing a bit too deep. That's a fish. There we go. Actually look like a good fish as well. It's difficult to tell because they always look a little bit bigger when they turn and the water's muddy, but it's a different fight to the other ones so far. It's the freaking trout, that's why. Dang it. Come here, you spotty menace. Come on. That is off. That'll do. That's about the best case scenario there. Dang it. Oh, that wind. Howling up the river. Really stiff southerly. 35-mile-an-hour gusts apparently today. And obviously it's blowing a lot more of these bloody leaves in the river. Oh, that's a fish. Yeah, just at the end. Just at the end. It's got its head down, whatever that is. Interesting. So there is the odd fish over there. There's nothing over there. It feels a bit more graylingy. Here it is. Little grey dog on the point fly. There we go. Tease that spangle shrimp out. Little grayling. I'm actually going to take a couple of steps downstream of things. That's both the trout and that little grayling a bit further down the river. Maybe we'll just take a few steps down, have a few drifts back here. I know it shallows up as we come down here, so maybe those fish are feeding in that slightly shallower water. Seems a bit of a weird coincidence that the two takes I've had here, the two proper takes, were both down here at the back. I feel like I've given this a pretty fair shake, and while I've picked up the odd fish, it has been that it's been picking up the odd fish rather than really getting on them, whereas when I first climbed in, I felt like I was on them. Let's go back across the river. Okay, so all I've done is move 5 yards further upstream than where I first started, and I've actually, just for the moment, I've just picked up the Euro rod again. Wind's just dropped a little bit in the last few minutes and might make it easier for me to fish this rig. It's what I'd rather use. It's a better presentation, better contact, more likely to hit the takes. Very interesting. So I've probably had a couple of dozen drifts through now in this area. I don't feel like I've had anything that particularly resembled a take, which obviously is totally the opposite of what happened when I came down this inside earlier. There's been no great change in conditions necessarily. I would have thought I'd be getting takes through here. Yeah, we've got another one of those big gusty areas at the moment. I'm going to have to switch back to the indicator. So the last place I used this was over on the far side, so I probably just need to shallow up a touch. Just knock that down slightly. There we go. Down at the bottom end of the drift again. Interesting. That feels graylingy. Definitely feels graylingy this time. I'm not quite so sure now. Not quite so sure. Oh. That's another trout. Oh, I'm terrorised at the moment. Right, you need to leave those worms alone, buddy. You'll notice with this indicator rig that even though it is fly line not trying to cast it like I would do fly line. I'm not throwing false casts. If I need to get more, line out, then I tend to do it by letting the flies land in between the movements. With there being 2 flies and with there being that big indicator on there, there's a lot of furniture on this rig. There's a lot of stuff to get tangled up, and I find that the more time it spends in the air, the more chance there is of it getting tangled. So my advice when you're fishing a big indicator rig like this is just try and minimise the amount of time it spends in the air. Don't false cast it too much. Okay, so we'll go through this set again. Once again, I've picked up the Euro rod first. I've got a bit of shelter from the wind here. It's probably the most sheltered bit of this pool. So just to start with, oh, it's too much line. I'm just going to try and fish this with the Euro rig. Let that swing a little bit. It's always dangerous with leaves and stuff around, but because I'm seeing fish rise, don't mind letting the odd one swing. A lot of takes just on that last third of the drift. Just those flies come up in the water column at this time of year. Probably not something I do loads of in December, but at this time of year when there's flies hatching, yeah, probably let every 1 in 3, 1 in 4 just swing below me a touch. Is that a fish? There we go. Wow, that was close to me. Oh, so I was halfway through that drift thinking to myself, Andy, that's a little bit close to you. If you get a take here, you're going to struggle to hit that. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. There's that one on the swing. There we go. Exactly what we were just talking about. Let the odd one just swing around below you. If they're looking up, which they are at the moment because they're rising, then you'll often get those takes on the swing. I've got a horrible feeling this is another trout. Yeah. I might have to move off this actually. Since been encountering as many trout as Grayling at the moment. Don't get me wrong, they're absolutely nowhere near spawning at the moment. We're in the 3rd week of October, but catching a lot of trout here. Right, well that's the first pool out of the way. I spent almost an hour there. Not massively thrilled with how I fished that, to be honest. There might be a little bit of early season rust there on my part. I feel like I should have caught more fish than that, and in truth I'm not really sure why I haven't. Really good start, if bites literally within seconds of getting into the water, but I couldn't keep it going, and that was really frustrating because I felt like there were probably fish in front of me there. I'm not surprised by the amount of trout I'm picking up, and I think that will continue throughout the rest of the session because this is the first proper flush through this river's had since about early April. So it's likely to have stirred all the fish up, not just the Grayling. Not going to lie, it's a little bit more coloured than I thought it was going to be when I pulled up, but it's not the end of the world, and I think by fishing those bright flies I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to keep fishing those for the moment. I feel like that team is working all right. I just need to find out exactly where they are and really try and pin them down, because I so far don't feel like I've really done that. It may well be they haven't shoaled yet. It wouldn't surprise me. It's been relatively mild. It's not been particularly cold yet, so it could well be that these fish are just a bit more spread out than they usually are, in which case I have to cover a bit more water. But the only way I'm going to do that is by grabbing a fishing rod, getting back in the water in a new spot and seeing if we can find some elsewhere. So let's have a walk upstream. Okay, so we moved on from that pool. We've come upstream a little bit to another nice heavy slack off of a main current line. You can see the main leaf line, the main feed line is further over, but on this inside it's a bit slower. I'm assuming I'm going to find fish on this side of that feed line. I've picked up the indicator rig because that wind is really whistling through here, and I just think Euro nymphing this is going to be very, very tough. Don't get me wrong, once again, if the wind drops, I will definitely be picking the Euro rod back up. But for the moment, that wind is just a real pain in the bum. When I go upstream, it does get a little bit deeper. For the time being, it's probably only 2 foot across from me there, so not a lot of depth. There's a fish, there we go. I think it's the right species as well, which would be a relief. Yes, definitely a Grayling. That hasn't taken long. There we go. Good stuff. Just popped one a bit further across there and immediately got a reaction. Little bars of soap at this time of year, aren't they? Full of energy, flapping around. There we go. Let's get it back. Good. Hopefully that means there's a few in here. Up behind this tree is kind of the maximum area of cover in terms of being able to get out of that fast water on the far side. Also a little bit deeper. This will go one of two ways. Either they're all sheltering up here because they don't want to get involved in the feed line, or I've got something completely wrong here because I can't believe I've only caught one fish out of this pool. Just generally want to trust this, and I certainly haven't done it justice so far. I haven't got something right. So it felt like something changed earlier. I haven't got something right in this pool because I really ought to have caught a few here. There's a fish. There we go. Feels grayling-y. Okay, maybe they're up here. It's a better sign, that's for sure. It is a grayling as well. So I'm going to stay on for me. There we go. Righty, interesting. Nice take as well. Another one that is absolutely full of energy. Come on, buddy. Just give me half a chance. There we go. Nice grayling. Right, spend a little bit more time in this slightly deeper water then, shall we? Gosh, that wind is absolutely ferocious at the moment. Flying up here. I'm sure that urine nymphing rig's going to get much more use for the rest of the day. I'm just not really feeling this deeper water when the river's so coloured like this. Found this under worth a look, but I'm only having a couple more casts and then we're moving on again. Well, it's safe to say that second pull there didn't really go to plan. I probably fished it a little bit faster than I intended to, but on reflection I think I fished it quickly because I wasn't particularly confident in it. Just with the water being coloured, I'm not convinced that deep water is the one if we're talking about feeding fish. I've come up to somewhere where I know the water's considerably shallower and will have a lot of light on it. Now for me, I think that's more likely to be where the feeding fish are. And the hope is that with this pool being a nice, even pace, relatively shallow, nice wide bubble lines, good grayling habitat, the hope is this indicator rig's going to do the business in here. I don't know, I feel pretty confident. I think the flies are okay. I think they're the right flies for the water situation, that's for sure. I think I'm just going to find some fish as much as anything. I just don't think I've done a very good job of pinning down where these fish are. Finally, geez, that took a while. Took a lot more casts than I anticipated. Finally found a fish a bit further across. It's definitely a grayling, tumbling around, doing horrible things. Come on. Particularly like pulling fish up against the river like this, but I got no choice because he went straight down it. Let's see if we can get him somewhere near the net. Get him above me slightly. No, he doesn't want to come above. There we go. Right, there was one over there somewhere for me, just took a little bit of digging out. Once again, not a huge fish by the standards of the venue, but nice plump autumn grayling. Okie doke, bit of a move again. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice I'm not thrilled with how this is going at the moment. I just don't feel like I've figured out what they're doing. That's a bit frustrating because I've spent 2 hours fishing now. I've gone through 2 of my 3 batteries, not really any nearer to know what to do with. I've come to a spot here. It's a big heavy seam on the inside of some very fast water, so the kind of place where fish might refuge, but it's not mega deep either. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we find feeding fish in here. Oh, there's a fish. There's a fish right beneath some feet. Oh, I think it's a grayling as well. Look like a reasonable fish. Horrible position to play it, but I don't really want to make a big angle change now. Right underneath these trees, I've got all sorts of stuff above me. It's a nice grayling, that. Certainly the biggest fish of the day so far. Yeah, he's in the net. There we go. Righty, interesting. That didn't take long in a new pool. Oh no, 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 no. Oh. Whew. Righty, let's put the phone away. Come on, buddy. Yeah, definitely the heaviest fish of the day so far. Don't get me wrong, there's much bigger in here, but we could be onto something there. Nice, thick, heavy, seamy water. This is classic Grayling water. A bit further upstream, with a chance to get down before it reaches me. Again, that's going to end up basically at my feet. Kind of get this a bit further over. That's a bit too far over. We'll drift it anyway, but that's not quite where I anticipated that one going. That's a fish. That's a fish. Oh, it was Grayling again. So I had to change the angle there. I don't like playing fish upstream. I know I've talked about this in other vlogs. I don't like playing fish upstream, particularly Grayling with those soft mouths. I've got nowhere around me that I can lift the rod on a downstream angle to land that. Well, without walking out of shot. There's no point in me bringing the cameras if I'm constantly walking out. I do just wonder if I could use that Euro rig in here. The wind's not quite as strong as it has been for the last 5 minutes or so. Okay, back onto the Euro rig. Same two flies. Just going to start a little bit further back this time. I know what's going to happen here. The second I start casting this, that wind's going to start blowing again. Yep, there we go. Exactly like that. There we go. There's a fish. That's a Grayling. See him tumbling. Always rather use the Euro rig where I can get away with it. It's just so much easier to read. You get so much more sort of positive feedback from it. Nice, there we go. Another little wriggler. Back he goes. If you compare the minutes per fish between the indicator rig and the Euro nymphing rig today, you very quickly see why I'd rather fish this if I can get away with it. I think I'm going to need a bit more weight on the point fly here if I want to get down in this bowl. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put a much heavier point fly on, still something nice and visible. I think probably the big pink dub grub. I've just moved upstream a little bit. I feel like I can get a slightly better angle on this pull from up here. Wind's got up again. Oh, I've made a fly change, by the way. I took off the pink dub grub because I didn't feel like it was quite getting me down as fast as I wanted to. And I've actually gone for the super shrimp, the big heavy super shrimp from the coloured water pack. I wanted to get down faster. Pink dub grub was getting me down, but it was getting me down towards the end of the drift. And it didn't really feel like that was the job I needed it to do. Obviously the problem with having the super shrimp on there is it's going to be more likely to catch this sort of stuff. But my feeling is the longer I can keep that red worm down there, the more chance I've got of finding another Grayling. Oh, yeah, right down on the swing. I'm going to land this. Right, I don't want to change the angle on this fish. So I'm probably going to end up doing a full 360 with this. Come on, come back above me. Oh, he's off, he's off. It's not been my day today with playing fish. I've got nowhere above me that I can lift the rod, so my only hope there was to get him back around this side of me. Yeah. Not been my day with playing fish. I lost a few. Give this another couple of minutes, but I'm starting to get itchy feet again. That kind of catch two fish out of a pool, move to another pool thing again. I think I've caught fish out of every single pool, or at least had takes in every single pool of fish, but I don't think I've had more than 2 or 3 takes in the same spot the whole time. Yeah, let's go for a move. Okay, so this is probably going to be the last pool of the day actually, because I'm running out of light. It is getting dark, it's nearly 5 o'clock, and I'm running out of battery life as well, and unfortunately both of those things are pretty essential for what I'm trying to achieve here, so this will probably be the last 20 minutes or so of fishing. In truth, I think the best of the day is probably gone now anyway, because that light's dropped so low. It's worth a look though. Some good water kind of this side of halfway, where I generally would expect to find a few fish lurking around. Just going to make sure down the inside first. Go on with the indicator because the wind is whistling through here again, as it has done all day. It's weird, it's a warm wind, it's an incredibly warm wind, but Jesus, it's strong. right down at the bottom end of the drift, just as I was about to pick up. Oh, he's in just the wrong spot. Can I get him to come up this edge? Just where you wouldn't want to hook a fish, especially with all these leaves coming down. Taking the point fly, where you go in, there we go. Righty, maybe there is just about enough light left. Target species on that point fly. Yeah, could we just squeeze out 2 or 3 at the end? That would be a nice finish. Okay, so still working up the same pool, just really quickly, because as I say, that light is probably 20 minutes away from completely leaving me. I still feel like I'm in front of fish here. It's just I don't know how they're going to respond given the colour of the water and the low light. I guess we're about to find out. Get some good quality drifts through here, that's for sure. It's good water. There we go, that was a nice take. That was a lovely sharp take over an area that, to be honest, I've had the flies through a few times. Another grayling, there we go. That one took the red worm that time. I had a feeling from the take that was going to be the worm. It's come up off the bottom and absolutely walloped it. Could we just squeeze out another 1 or 2 before we lose the light? Righty, this is the last bit of this pool. Just give this top end 5 minutes. Light's almost gone. I've got hungry. I'm still catching leaves. Spent more time gardening today than I have fishing. I reckon probably 1 in 3 of the casts I've made today I've had to unhook a leaf from for the entire day. That wind in so many ways has been such a pain today. But it's not going to stop me fishing this indicator through here. There we go. Oh, he's off. I still think there's fish in front of me, I really do. Might not be hooking one every cast, but I'm convinced there's still fish down here to be caught. Well, a lost fish sort of feels like the appropriate place to finish this one on. I'm not really sure what to make of today. There's one side of me that's like, well, you know, it's the first proper flush of the year and it's still very muddy and, you know, that wind's been an absolute freaking nightmare all day, so actually done okay to gouge out what I have in under 3 hours. There's another part of me that's like, oh, if that wind had just left me alone. Every time I picked up that Euro rig, I caught fish. And it just took so much longer to get the takes on the indicator than it did on the Euro. I just wonder what if that wind had just backed off at about 2:30, 3 o'clock when the weather forecast said it was going to, and I'd have had a proper go at Euro nymphing for those fish when the light was still good. And it seemed like they were a bit more on it because, I don't know, I feel like I should have caught more fish today. I've just got this niggling feeling I should have caught a few more today. Folks, do let me know what you'd have done differently in these conditions. I'm always interested here in the comment section how you guys would have gone about it. Don't forget, all of the flies that I've used during the session today are available in our Grayling packs. Go to www.abangling.co.uk and you'll find a little web shop there where you can buy the Grayling packs. Also the Euro nymphing in a box pack that you've been using on the Euro rig is there as well. All the stuff that you need to be able to go out and do Euro nymphing, all the individual components all in one box, ready to go, nice and easy. I've also thrown a little bit of a special offer in there for you guys. Coming up to Christmas, the Grayling bobble hat and the Grayling buff are now on a little special price just for you guys as a thank you very much for getting to the end of this vlog. So again, go to the web shop, you'll find all that stuff there. And all that leaves me to say is thank you very much for watching this vlog. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you know anyone else who might enjoy it, please share it with them. And IB and I will see you guys again soon for some more fishing and stuff. Take care, folks. Bye bye.